If I had given up when things went wrong, I wouldn't have this lovely fall card. Do you struggle with trees? Today, we're going to paint this little fall scene. I did mine on a card. You can do yours on a card or just as a regular painting, however you like. But we're going to do these trees with some very simple techniques that I think pretty much anyone would be able to do very easily. So whether you're a beginner or an experienced watercolorist, let's just dive in and have some fun. Today, I'm using the Kuretake. These are the Genzai Tambi paints by Kuretake. This is the Art Nouveau set. I have my Calero Gold and Silver, the pearl colors. I have those up there because I might want to use them. I'm not positive yet. If you can see any shimmers in the picture here, well, then you know that I decided to. I, however, because this, at the time I'm recording it, have not completed the painting yet. I'm staring at a blank page. But through the magic of editing in YouTube, you get to see the finished painting before we start. So let's go ahead and dive in. To start, I'm just going to grab some masking. This is very inexpensive masking. I got this at my dollar store. This is not the masking I would use, although I do believe it said it was acid-free. I still purchased it from the Dollar Tree. This actually has a lot of tack to it, and it's not what I would use on precious artwork. This masking is about, it's about an inch wide, but I'm just going to take it, and you see I have a piece that's tall enough to span my paper, and this was just a spare piece of watercolor paper that I had around the studio, and I folded it in half and taped it down to a little mat. And this is one of the cutting mats that I get at the Dollar Tree that I like to use to tape my work to sometimes. So you see I've ripped one side, and I'm just going to come in here and do the same thing. If I can get that started. I have it folded over because every time I finish my tape, I always fold the end over so it's easy to grab the next piece. But I'm just going to rip down. And you see it got thinner as I went up, just like trees do. Don't worry, just rip it. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on my page. It doesn't have to be straight. You can slightly skew it, whatever inspires you. I'm putting mine right there. So there's one. Now I'm going to take another piece because I'm going to do birch trees because I love birch trees. They are my favorite. Birch trees and evergreens, right? So this one, I don't want to be the same size. And usually when you rip them, they're not. But I'm just going to come right down through here and like rip it right up the center. Why not? Don't try to rip it perfectly straight. The edges of trees are bumpy. They have texture. I'm just going to stick that one on my table for now, and I'm going to come down and just rip, if I can, the edge of this side. This is going to make some very easy trees for us. Right, there we go. Now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it here. So yours are going to be slightly different, and every time you do trees like this, they're going to be a little different. Now I'll take that other half. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. I love birch trees in clusters of 3. 3 or more. But, all right, and then this one I'm going to put right about there. Perfect. So you see that actually they're all different sizes, and just place them on your page and don't even worry. And I think for what I originally had in mind, I might want to shift them over a little bit more. I'm just going to reposition these just slightly because I think it will work better for our composition. There we go. I just felt they were encroaching a little bit too much into the painting. I wanted them to be kind of over here in this third or less than half. All right. getting rid of my little scrap pieces of tape. I'm just going to grab some water, open up my paints, and we're going to get started. This is super simple. You guys are going to love this. Just in case, I'm using my Nick Pro brushes today. I have a round number 10 and a round number 6. Okay, so here's my Art Nouveau set, and I did not purchase these myself. These were actually sent to me by a patron, and a big shout out to Rob. Thank you so much. When I first tried these colors, I loved them, and I've been wanting to use them more. So I'm going to go ahead and just give these a spritz so that they can start activating along with my metallics. So when I activate my watercolors, I just give just a little spritz. I'm just kind of blocking my paper here. Right. And this, I hate to do this in this box. This is like a cardboard box. I have on my wish list, my Christmas wish list, I have a palette from Meeden that I would be able to just pull the pans of these that I want and place them right in that palette. It would be so nice. So yeah, it's on my Christmas wish list, but we'll see. We'll see what Santa brings. So I just have a plate here from another project, and I spritzed that. I'm just going to clean it off. And so this is what I mix on. And I've shared this with you guys before. I hit these little square plates, and you can get square ones. I have round ones at the Dollar Tree, if you have a Dollar Tree near you. Or you can order them online. I'll try to remember to put a link. I love these. In fact, I will keep a stack of them. I need to get a couple more in the studio because I'm just gonna leave that one there. It just wants to be there, and it's just a little chunk of watercolor. It's fine. It looks like an umber, but it's fine. I need to get a couple more of them, so I have a little bit bigger stack because, like that, sometimes when I do have paint on them, I don't like to take the paint off, and sometimes what I'll do, and it's very handy, so just a little tip, if you paint with plates like that. Now, obviously, these plates are only used in my studio. They don't go to the kitchen. They don't get washed. They don't go back into circulation with plates we eat off of or anything like that. But when I do, like with my butcher trays, I'll label what the paints are. So this was Hydra Set 1. So I can come back to this and use these until they're gone and not waste any paint. Okay, so I wanted to really get into and this just looked fall. Doesn't this palette just like say paint something fall? All these like muted, the orange, brown, green colors, same like up here. It was screaming fall to me. So that's what we're gonna do. And these paints reactivate so easily. These take a little bit. That's why they're all nice and primed now. I may even need to prime them again just before I use them. But these definitely reactivate very easily. All right, so to start with, I'm going to come through here and I'm going to put some water down. Now we're going to paint our sky, and then we're going to paint some distant trees. And yeah, I went all the way to the edge of my paper with that. But no worries. See, and I didn't have to go all the way to the bottom yet. It's not important. Just this kind of midsection. And let's mix up a color for our sky. See, there's the one thing, like this is not like the traditional, what I would normally use for my sky. But I think we're just going to go for it. We're just going to take this number 602 and we're going to dab it in. Just kind of let it be. Let it do its thing. I'm going to get a little bit over here because, when I remove this, I'm going to want that tree to stand out, and we're going to have a little bit of sky there. And if it goes to the edge, it's fine. Don't stress over it. This is just having fun, right? We're just going to pop down some color, and there we go. That's it. That's all I need. Rinse out my brush. And then next I want to do some trees here in the distance. So I'm thinking fall. And I'm just going to grab some of these colors and I'll put them, you can't really see my plate here, but I thought it'd be best if you saw the colors I was doing. But on my plate over here is where I'm just going to mix them up, test them, things like that. So just going to drop in a little bit of color here and there. Now we need some color. There we go. It's going to be like a yellow. It looks kind of green, but it's going to be like a nice yellowish color. Let's put some of that in, keeping that kind of lower, because if it spreads up into my sky, I might get some green going there. Not exactly what I want. And I think we need some orange or red. So this number 302, we're just going to grab some of that. Perfect. It's quite orange. Let's just drop some in. You see, as it spreads out, it's just kind of growing into little tree tops all on its own. Very nice of it. Paint itself for you. All right, I'll put some of that color over here. Don't think about, this is the background. Don't give this too much thought. All right, just drop some stuff in. A little bit of green. I'm going to take some of this number 504. Perfect. And just thinking like evergreen. Get some conifers in there back there. These are going to dry quite soft. The color will lighten. See, I stopped right there because maybe that tree's in front of it. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm just going to work down to my foreground, wet this paper. And see, I've gone all the way to the edges here, but I haven't gone all the way to the top, and it may not go all the way to the bottom, or I may. Either way, it's fine. And if I want to soften this edge, I can just come back in with a little extra water that's in my brush. I didn't grab more water. I am just working that edge and letting my paper be a little bit more wet above that. And let's just take out that hard line, right? I want that to just kind of gently fade up. Now I've removed quite a bit there. I don't know what paper this is. I know it's cellulose because of the way it's acting. There's no telling. There's no telling which one it was. I cleaned the studio and just took all the scraps of paper I had and put them in a pile to use. Okay. Leaving it alone. Leaving it alone. Promise. All right, so now down here, our foreground, I'm going to take, and I want that to feel like it's away. So I'm grabbing a little bit of this 502 and mixing it with that 504. So that's just going to be a cooler green. And it's fine if it blends up in there. Don't worry about it. Right, and then how about, it's fall, everything's dying off. I'm going to come back in. Let's see, this 405. Yeah. There we go. I know I said cooler, and I just warmed it right up, but I was thinking fall, and that just wasn't looking like fall grass to me. And I'm definitely getting a hard line there. I don't want that. Clean my brush. Right, this is in the background, just tapping it off. And I'm just going to come through with a damp brush and go over this. If I need to darken anything else up, I absolutely can. You'll see I've set that down and it's going to keep trying to push. And if I have to, I'll just go right over everything. It's lifting color. It's not doing what I want. And this is a great example of where I'm not going to stop the video because then you guys can see exactly where things can go wonky. This cellulose paper, it just wants to sit there and it's going to want to push. I'm going to get a line there as well because it's going to it. Cellulose paper dries so fast. And so I'm just in my sky, kind of staying right to the top edge of that. Again, cleaning my brush, making sure that's kind of dry, and bringing it right to that edge again. And now I'm at the top edge of my paper, and it is whatever it wants to be. Okay. Just going to let that be. But I might put in some more color now that that has moved and kind of done its thing. I've messed it up. Don't let it get you upset, though. If things like that happen, just play with them, experiment, learn from what has happened. Why did it happen? If you can understand why it happened, then you know in the future, if I do this, I can expect that this is going to happen. I don't want to see a lot of detail back here, but I would like to see some different values. I still have some nice yellows. I'm trying not to mess with those. Everything dries so fast in my studio. So quickly. So here I could grab a little bit of that just to make that cooler green like I did with the grass, but this time as I work on dropping it. And if you don't like it, you know, don't do any more with it. Warm it back up. Today was all about just having fun, experimenting with these colors, seeing what I could paint with them. And see, that's feeling a little too blue to me, so I'm just going to drop some of this warmer green on it. And I'm not even trying to make it look like you're going to know your brain is just going to be like, oh, there's an evergreen tree there. A lot of water in my brush, so it's making a mess. But I always tell myself, I fuss with the background so much. And I'm like, the background is not really going to be the thing that people look at when it's done. It's the background. You know what I mean? I worry so much about the background when perhaps all I need to really worry about is the foreground. So it's such a big brush too that I'm using, but just trying to drop in some more values here to everything was looking kind of similar. A lot of orange back there. Nope, there's not. See, now there's not enough to flood, so it's just pulling it up because my brush is thirsty because there's more wetness on my paper than there is in my brush. And right now, my brain's just going, you might not even ever show this to YouTube. This may not see the light of day. And that's okay too. You can have a painting that you're not thrilled with, and don't give up on it. Keep pushing through, because by the time you finish, you're going to have learned so much from that painting that didn't go exactly as you wanted it to. And I'm leaving it alone. I promise this time. And I just put a lot of water on there, so I'm going to tip it downwards because I want that paint to flow down. I'm actually going to switch brushes because when I get this one wet, it holds so much water in this number 10 round. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my number 6. And I've taken it right to the edge. Again, my intent was for it to be like a vignette. But you guys knew before I did, because you saw it at the beginning of the video, that that wasn't going to work for me. So just bringing that like yellow ochre type color right back there. You see, that's getting like, it's because it's pushing that paint. Like, I'm going to let that just move right up to the base of these trees and just enjoy that. Let it be. Grab some more of this green. Just bring more pigment back in here. I can tell you, whatever this paper is, I know why it was in just lying around, because I don't care for it. But that's okay. It's a fun, fun way to still be able to play with these colors and experiment and see what types of things I can paint with this palette. There we go. There. All right, I need to let this dry. So far, you see, it was just dropping in colors to make our distant trees. Just dropping it in. We didn't have to paint specific trees. We just had to drop it in, right? That's easy. We can do that. Don't be afraid. Go for it. Just dive in and play with your color. So wet and wet. I just wanted to see, I said I was leaving it alone, but I thought, I had that green and it got so pale. I know as soon as I remove that tape, I'm going to wish I had darkened that up. So I went ahead and did it. So the first technique for trees, just dropping paint in wet and wet to make your fall colors. And I'm going to bring this up a little closer before I pause so that you can get a really good look at that. Okay, so there we go. So step 1 was masking out our trees for our foreground. Step 2, wetting our paper and just dropping in our fall colors. All right, step 3, how about we let the paper dry? My paper's dry, and you'll notice I haven't pulled the tape yet because I thought, how can I deprive you of that? The tape peel is like the best part, is it not? So I used a heat tool and warmed up my masking tape before removing it because, again, I know that this tape is a bit on the high tack side. So I didn't want to rip my paper, rip the middle of my painting. Ta-da! So there are our trees that are going to be in our foreground. All right. So next we need to paint these in. I'm going to need a really dark color. We don't have a black or a neutral tint or anything like that here in this set. So we're going to make some. I'm going to take this one because it's leans a little bit more blue. Number 506, right? And that's what I did here. And to that, right, because blue's complement is orange. And since this looks a little bit more orange anyways, I figured why not grab something that's a bit more blue and see if we can't come at it that way. And so there we go. I think that is going to be much more what I'm looking for. So there we go. We're going to use that color as kind of the gray that I want for our birch trees and their branches. First thing is I want to wet these. So I'm just taking my brush. I'm still using my number 6 round and making sure I don't have any water that's going to drip anywhere else. I'm just going to paint down where my trees are and just really wet this area. and let that kind of soak into the paper for a little bit while I do the other two. Now, I've shown different techniques for birch trees on the channel before. One where I just take a cut up piece of like an old like credit card and dip that in my paint and just kind of like touch the edge and slide. You could do it that way. I wouldn't want this to be all wet if I did that. There's so many ways to paint birch trees. I'm going to show you a different way today. So now my trees are wet. My brush, I'm just like that, just wiped it off on my paper towel to take any excess water out of it. I'm going to come over here to this paint that I mixed, and I'm just going to put the tip of my brush in it. I don't need this soaked with paint because I don't want to put a ton of paint down. Not yet. So I'm just going to come in, starting with this one, and I'm going to do some lines. Now I'm going to remember these trees are round, so I'm going to want my lines to kind of follow that rounded form. And I'm just going to pull some over. Don't worry about, like, they don't have to be perfect. Okay, just pull some lines. Sometimes there's just some in the middle, and they don't go from the edge. You don't have to go from the edge each time. You don't want it to look like you just went pink, like, you know what I mean, and staggered. These kind of starting to look like that. I just throw a few extras in someplace and kind of break it up. So just getting a little bit on the tip of my brush. And these trees, if they're still wet, again, mine feel like they're already starting to dry. Everything dries so fast in my studio. If some are thicker than the others, that's okay. Trust me, you get these lines in here like that, and people are going to look at your painting and be like, oh, you painted some beautiful birch trees. Okay, so these are lighter than I'm going to want, but it's watercolor. I can layer it up. And see, I'm feeling it. It like feels like that's pretty dry. I don't know how much these are going to bleed and move, but that's right. This is the one that I picture is closest to us. So it's fine if these are a little more sharper and in focused. When you do this every time, your birch trees are going to be, you'll never paint the same two birch trees because you're always going to slightly rip your tape different. You'll choose where you start plopping some of these little lines down in different places. You're rarely going to paint two birch trees that look exactly the same. I want this one to be further away. So like this one, how it's spread, I'm going to go ahead and come back. If yours is still wet, you don't have to do this a second time. Mine is just, I can see there's not even a sheen left to this paper. I'm sure there's some moisture in it somewhere, but it's not going to be enough to move my paint. Now, if I started to put that first drop and it really took off and moved more than I wanted, I would just stop and wait, give it a few more moments before I came back again so that more of that water could absorb into the paper. And I was kind of breaking that up because I was kind of staggering. I didn't want it to look like a zigzag, so just breaking that up a little bit. Okay, now that those are set, I can come back and anywhere that I want to darken any of these up, I will just go ahead and put in a few extra lines and darken that up. Let me just show, I really think that coming back for the second layer is very important because look at the difference between this tree and these trees. Darkening up some of those spots just really, I guess that makes it, to me, it makes them look a little bit more realistic. And we're going to talk about another way that you make your birch trees much more realistic in a moment. Let me just get this one finished. Okay. What do you think of those our birch tree trunks? There we go. All right. I'm really liking the way the trees in the background have dried. Okay, branches. So branches are our next thing. Now, when it comes to birch trees, unless that branch is really big, they're not white. The branches are actually quite dark. So with our dark color, just make sure I don't have too much water on here. I'm going to take and start putting in some branches. Now, let me just share with you one of the ways that I do it. I'll start with this tree, and I'm going to put these branches behind this one. And when I look at like right here, see how there's like a little spot that's stuck out from where my tape was? I'm just going to have a branch come right out of that spot. So I do that with a lot. Where it bumps out, I'm going to put a branch there. Same with down here. I might put one here that comes upwards. So that's with each of these. Those are going to be little cues that I'm going to look for. And it's just going to help that tree from our torn tape look a little bit more organic when we paint it. And just like with the lines on the trees, if I need to, I can come back through and darken up any of my lines. For my big tree here that's in the front, branch on that, I'm going to actually have it be nice and thick. I'm going to paint it right over the front of this one. I do the same with my branches. Anywhere that it gets a little wonky, I'll just bring another branch out from that point. So right here, it kind of bumps downward. I'm just going to continue putting in branches. You can add as many or as few as you want. I hope you're enjoying today's video. It's a little longer than I had anticipated because I had the problems with the background, and I didn't want to cut those out because I thought it was important to share with you that we make mistakes too. I don't want to get too carried away. It's very easy to do for sure. Just get completely carried away. Birches, at least the birches that we have that have the white trunks like this, those papery birches, their leaves they're like golden color. So, and you can leave them like this. You don't have to add leaves if you don't want to. But I'm just going to tap in, because we still have a lot of foliage back here. So I'm just going to tap this in as if my birch tree still has a lot of its leaves still on it. And I'm just tapping just the suggestion of leaves. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of this red, just warm a few of these, warm this up a little bit, or make it a little more orange, but still I want kind of like a mustard, more yellow than orange. I just want a variety of colors in there. It's going to be very easy to to go too far, right? Like it'll be very easy to just keep going and keep tapping and trying to put in leaves, and then you just have blobs. So resist the urge to overdo it. The other thing we could do is we could put in like some little branches like shrubs down here. But we don't have to. We can leave it just like that. And I think that's actually where I'm going to leave it today. Let me dry this off. Oh, before we do, I want to add some of my metallic paints. I just love these paints. I want to put a little bit of this in there. So I'm going to move this aside. It'll be nice to have a little sparkle or shimmer in there. And this one is really the most orange of them, and that is the Inca Gold. I'm just going to work that up a little bit. And I have my other water I need to bring over here because it's already got, you see that? There's a lot of metallic in there. I was using that the other day with these. And if I were to rinse my regular brush in that and stir that water up, it would put that sparkle back into the bristles and my other paints. You know, it could affect my other paints. So something to keep in mind. I have a separate pot for rinsing some of this out. All right, I'm just going to tap in here and there a little bit. And this is just, oh, this is going to be beautiful. All right, and this is pretty opaque, so it would cover up. If I want to put it over top of where some of these branches are, they're really going to show through. And I think what we'll do is we're just going to use a few of these different colors and really get some sparkle to the leaves or shimmer in the leaves of this birch tree. Especially like down here where it kind of goes in front of those other trees where the watercolor was so transparent. And this is just going to really shine. All right, I'm going to rinse that one out because, again, it's very easy to overdo it. I'm going to go with this really bright yellow, which is the Arabic Gold. And these do, like I said, they do take a moment to reactivate. I had sprayed them earlier, so it's not taking as long. But I definitely want this to be more opaque versus transparent. I want to preserve some of that white space. I don't mind if I go over some of these branches. It's just going to look a little bit more authentic, for lack of a better word. Look at already, our birch trees are just starting to shine. Just going to get a little bit of variety in the gold. So this one is Gold Pearl. See how easy it is to quickly overdo it. And then we have the Tibet Gold. I'm not going to use the lighter two here. Although I might use some of the sterling silver. This is not a silver birch, but I think the sterling silver, we could put a little bit of shimmer to our tree trunks. Just because this is the part of the card that or the painting we really want to draw emphasis to. We really want to make this one shine. Okay. Again, this is the Tibet Gold. Just in a few spots. My water. You see the... It's just, I know the light's reflecting off of it, but it is sparkly for sure. So this is just the sterling silver. And I think I'm just going to give a little bit of emphasis on like the right sides of the trees. Like the light's coming from this way or something. Again, just kind of pulling it around. Here we go. There. Wait till I show you. Wait till we get to tip those and you really see how they shimmer. This is fantastic. All right, let me just add a little bit of heat. Again, just warming it up with either a heat tool like this or a hairdryer is going to really help that tape release. And of course, the moment that we all love so much, if you tape off your work, this quickly becomes the favorite part. Look at that. I had intended to do a vignette, and I'm very happy that I painted right up to the edges of all the tape because I am loving the way that looks. Again, I'm being very careful because this is definitely a higher tack tape than my Artist tape that I usually use. See, because it caught just a little corner of my card right there. And that's why I always pull away from my painting. By pulling away, if anything tears, it tears off the page. It doesn't tear into my painting. And if you notice up here, I mark fold. Anytime I'm doing a card, when I start to tape off the card, when it's folded, I always put fold on the side that the fold is on because, believe me, you wouldn't think so. But it's very easy to forget which side had my fold on it, and then you paint your card upside down. So, or on the, the wrong way. Look at that. And again, I use the cutting mats all the time. These are just little tiny ones I get at the Dollar Tree. Find them very helpful when you're taping down smaller projects that are like 6x9 paper or smaller. Look at that. So there is our little fall card, and look at the shimmer. See how much it just shines and shimmers. Those trees, the leaves. And if you look at the leaves, by painting the watercolor first in the background, it really gives, I don't know what my camera's doing there. There we go. It really gives a lot of depth and dimension to the leaves that you have there. So there we go. And again, look at that shimmer, which you might not have caught at the very beginning, but look at that on the birch. I love how it worked on the birch trees coming down. It's excellent. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with the way that this one came out. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope that you found this to be two very easy ways to put in trees. One, trees in the background, and these birch trees in your foreground. Are you going to give it a try? Drop me a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed the video, please do take a moment and hit that thumbs up button because it definitely helps us here on the channel. We are a small channel trying to grow, and I greatly appreciate your assistance. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do that. There's a button for that too, and it is free. So thanks very much for joining me. I'm going to pop another video up right about here that you might like to watch next. And until next time, my friends, look at that. Happy fall and keep creating. See you in another video real soon. Bye.